Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 2 of Chronicles Moisture Madness. We are joined by Jed Walker, other side, from Boveda. My man Jed, I want to give a quick introduction. Oh yeah, we also got Mike here. Mike Sichi.
One day he'll pronounce my last name properly. There you go.
It's not easy to pronounce his name. If you've ever seen it written, it probably has confused the hell out of you. So he's the master grower for CannaReps. Jed is the man at Boveda for Western Canada. He's a second-generation cannabis farmer from Texada Island, a man that I love. He's my brother from another mother. So thank you so much for being with us, Jed. And everyone out there, thank you for joining us today. Mike and I are going to medicate a bit. You know that we're both medical users. And for us, consuming throughout the day is a must. And we're going to talk a little bit about the cultivar that we're consuming right now. We've got a BC Rockstar, a special pheno that we're growing that's particularly chunky, humongous calyxes. BC Rockstar's got that beautiful balsam fir flavor to it with some butteriness. What do you taste, brother?
Oh, it's gorgeous, man. It's beautiful. And also another thing that I really like about this is it passes the wall test.
Ah, the wall test. The famed wall test. What is the wall test?
Anyone want to guess what the wall test is?
Anybody out there know what the wall test is?
Nope.
Jed, you don't know? Okay. Well, Jeff, you know what it is, Jeff.
So you got Jonathan, Dom, never heard of it, Nathan. It sticks to the wall.
I knew Jeff would know. Of course.
That's it.
Yeah, you put your butt up against the wall, you press it with your finger, and if it sticks, that's passing the wall test.
Yep.
It's a highly scientific test.
Extremely.
And it's a must for Q&A assessment programs. Anyways, we're tasting the delicious BC Rockstar here. Today, our super exciting subject matter is moisture madness, all things moisture related to cannabis. We've got a lot of content to go over, so we're going to dive right into it. By the way, moisture is a particular obsession of mine and this man's over here. And you know what? I think Jed's a little bit of a moisture head as well. And I'm going to start the whole presentation by saying this because Jed's got a really cool freaking hat that has a saying on it that I really, really believe in and I live by. Save the terps. Moisture is not really about moisture, okay? You gotta get this. I'm not hyped on moisture because I like my skin to be perfectly well, whatever.
Because it isn't.
It isn't. No, I have very scaly reptile-like skin.
Reptilian.
They call me Adolphosaurus Rex around
here. We do, actually. We do call him
Anyways,
Adolphosaurus. He's got quite the shriek, too.
Well, you just heard a little bit of it. But my point is, moisture is about quality, people. So every step of the plant life, including during processing, especially during processing and storage, is absolutely crucial for the well-being of your terpene, for the well-being of your trichome, which contains your terpene, okay? So again, that is the reason for the infatuation. Off we go into this quest. Now, people, remember, at the end of this show, Jed over here from Boveda is going to be giving away a huge bag of Boveda love to somebody out there. But if you don't stick around until the end of the show, and we call out your name, you don't get the gift. No. So you have to stick around, check out what we have to say, learn together, and at the end, one lucky attendee gets the gift. By the way, this is an interactive session. You can ask questions directly to Adolfo, to Mike, to Jed. We want you to do that, okay? So stay engaged, even though I'm going to run through some content and some slides. This is not just a one-way stream. We talk back, okay? Now, here we go. Yes, love all around, people. Love all around. Here we go.
Got a lot of Eastern Canada, some Toronto, some Ontario love. That's where I'm from, my hometown, Toronto. But
Minnesota.
We're here broadcasting from Vancouver, BC.
Yeah. By the way, at our grow show here in beautiful North Vancouver. Now, here we go. We're gonna go ahead and share the screen. Hopefully, want to share the contents of your screen. Choose what you'd like to share.
Hey, Dwayne, get that humidity up a little bit higher. 60% too low.
Yeah.
for those seedlings.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see way more vigorous growth if you get your humidity up a little bit higher.
Okay, people. Here we go. We're gonna learn right now. I hope you're all seeing my screen. Yes, you are sharing your screen. Fantastic, fantastic. Here we go. We're gonna launch into our material, and Mike and I are gonna walk you through it a bit. But please, we're gonna have to check. Oh, you know what? I can click like this. No, I cannot click like this. Okay, I got it now. I got it. I got this. So remember, people. These are the core right now of CannaReps in terms of presentation, but there's one person that's not on this slide, and that's Sharon. She's in the background right now helping us moderate. We would be nothing without Sharon. Sharon is the backbone of this company. Remember that CannaReps is here to inspire mindful cannabis appreciation through knowledge, science, and cultural awareness. Missing any one of these components will cause you to be missing a leg as a practitioner in this industry. It's like missing a limb. Absolutely crucial. All three components are there. Interactive cannabis education. Look, interaction with a plant is the only way you learn everything you learn in my course. You don't learn stuff from Adolfo just yelling into a screen at you. You learn by interacting with the product, okay? And through doing so, we will improve industry standards. And my
Hey everyone, just give Adolfo a second to figure out the technical difficulties going on here.
We're back. We're back. Okay, how long was I out for? How long was I out for? Like 5 seconds, 10 seconds?
Did you already green out? Come on.
No. Come on, stay with me.
30 seconds.
Tell me what
20 seconds, 30 seconds.
20 seconds. Okay. We're going back, right back into the presentation, okay? Here we go. So essentially what we're gonna learn right now is moisture during growth, okay? Moisture during growth is crucial because you cannot get to the peak of quality without moisture being right during growth. How do we measure it? 3 forms. RH, relative humidity, as in basically the amount of water that it would take within a specific temperature range to achieve 100% saturation. In other words, dew point, you know, when water starts to become accumulated on surfaces, okay? Moisture content is the total amount of water remaining in a substance. Water activity is a more scientific measure that essentially tells you how easy it is for pathogens to get in the water that's available in a particular foodstuff or a perishable item, okay?
And this is particularly important actually when you talk about botrytis cinerea. It finds its way into cannabis and into the flower, either when the plant's alive or while it's drying, while it's being cured, through those standing water. So anywhere that there's standing water, botrytis, that's how it gets in.
And remember that it's the stomata, the little pores in your plant that needs to release that moisture, that water, so that your plant can perspirate at the right rate, that it's not going too fast or too slow. And we're going to get to that in a moment. So crucial to remember that seedlings and cuttings prefer higher RH points. Now, a lot of people say never go to 100. Sorry, but 100%.
Yeah, I mean,
sometimes
on the first day,
fine.
As soon as you take your cutting, the very first day, you keep it at 100%. I keep all of my lids closed on my humidity dome, and then I gradually, you know what I mean, increase the airflow over the course of time. That's essentially how you do it. Right?
And just so you're aware, right now we can't see the chat box, so we're going to be checking back and looking at your questions in one moment, okay? Just moving through my little portal difficulties. So what about temperature, right? Remember that seedlings specifically benefit a lot from having a heat map. Heat map essentially raises the temperature and it keeps it at a very steady rate so that seedlings have the ideal temperature to proliferate. Yeah, you're pretty much you're the guy who's obsessed with your heat mats. I've noticed.
Oh yeah, I sleep on heat mat. I got heat mats all over. No, but really, and if you do get a ceiling heat mat, make sure to get yourself a heat mat thermostat as well, because the ceiling heat mat itself is programmed to be roughly, 20 degrees Fahrenheit higher than the ambient temperature, but that's not the case. It can sometimes get up to 100 degrees and you'll cook your roots. So you get a thermostat, they're designed for them, and then you can actually dial it right into the temperature that you want.
So many of my friends just run their mats, and their mat is like 28%, and they're getting 28 degrees, and they're getting root rot, and they're wondering why. Because you need to measure your temperature. So that's what it looks like when they sit in 100% humidity, 95% humidity, and that's fine when you're rooting. When you're in vegetative stage, that is not fine. You want your RH to stay between 55 and 75%, okay? Flowering stage, you want to tater it off to the other end of the spectrum, right? If your spectrum is 45% to 75%, you're going to stay on this half during vegetative stage, during that half, more so during flowering stage, so you can accumulate more of that trichome cover that really tries to protect the plant from light, from dryness, from the elements, and making it a bit drier will increase your trike count, okay?
And also think about these. These all have been presented to you in terms of ranges, right? You've seen 60 to 85%, 45 to 60%. And think about why these ranges actually exist. It's because they're cultivar specific, right? And not only cultivar, but phenotype specific, right? So figure out what the ideal range is for the plant that you're growing in the environment that you have. And that humidity all ties in to temperature, which is what we're getting into here.
Beautiful. And that relationship between temperature and humidity, which is about your vapor pressure deficit. And there's a lot of charts out there. I like this one. I gotta give props to Integrated Bioengineering for this one. They do an amazing job of representing the data, the spectrum. By the way, you get all of these slides at the end of today, and this is public. This is a publication on their behalf that's out there for people to access. Vapor pressure deficit, really important, because it basically, look, this chart provides you with the range that you have to stick to between your temperature and your humidity. So why that's important? Tell us why that's important, my friend.
Well, essentially, this governs the plant's ability to be able to drop essentially water from the environment and therefore nutrients as well, right? And you'll notice that if your vapor pressure deficit is either your range, that range is either too high or too low, you'll either have nutrient toxicities or deficiencies, right? Whichever way you go. But one thing I want to point out is that this chart here, you're going to have to take a look and see, because again, not only are different varietals sensitive to different vapor pressure deficit levels, but also throughout the life course of a plant's own existence, its vapor pressure deficit ideal is going to have to change, right? You're going to want more higher moisture and humidity and temperature during, right, exactly. You can see down at the bottom, the color legend. So that's very important. Pay attention to that, and you'll see the pattern, right? But again, this isn't cut and dry. Your cultivar is going to find its way and wiggle its way around and figure itself out.
So again, vapor pressure deficit is that subject matter which most home growers are currently overlooking. If you work at an LP and you're watching us, you know all this stuff, because this is fundamental information for managing your grow site effectively long term. If you're not looking at your VPD, that's not the Vancouver Police Department, okay, thank God. That is vapor pressure deficit, and you want to keep an eye out for it, okay? Here we go. Next subject matter. Before I do that, though, I'm going to go back and answer some questions. Check out the chat. Here we go. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for 1 second. How's everybody doing over here? Sean Bergen, a question about store-bought government-provided cannabis. You'd mentioned level 1 curriculum that they tend to err on the side of dryness for some reason. Are there any cultivars that you have encountered that were government store purchased that had great moisture content? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I can list some for you now. And that doesn't mean, by the way, that I support some of the outrageous prices that have been recently launched by these very same LPs, okay? For example, black market is not, it's expensive. They're doing like $55 eighths, $60 eighths. It's very expensive, okay? But It's bombastic, amazing cannabis, high trip quad material. The moisture content is going to be 11.5 to 13.5%. You're going to check your RH in the jar, and you're going to find an RH close to 60 percentile. You're going to be very happy with that product. And absolutely, a lot of these people, or you're looking through some other questions?
Yeah.
And absolutely, a lot of these companies also that are delivering a product that has good moisture inside of it treated their product in post-processing with a product like what Boveda makes, okay? That's also a factor. So people can recover. Look, especially if you didn't over-zap your cure. If you didn't over-zap it, that means you went a little bit past where you want it to be. And then you brought it back to where it needed to be with a moisture control packet. And then you delivered that to the consumer with an appropriate RH in the jar and with an appropriate MC content now, because it was rehydrated, to that consumer. Most of that nose is still retained. A good portion of that nose is still retained. Your monoterpene has not completely dissipated, has not completely evaporated off of that bud, okay? So great question. You got another one you want to tackle before we move on to the next one?
Yeah, really quick. Somebody just had a question. Sure. Here we go.
Yeah.
So, and these are related. So Michelle's asking, or says her biggest issue is keeping the relative humidity between 55 and 75 during veg. And then a couple lines down, Dwayne mentions that his seedlings are almost 2 weeks old and they've got 3 sets of leaves, right? And so by veg stage, what do we mean? Well, veg stage is obviously when you have the plant, not in flowering. So when you haven't triggered the 12 hours on and 12 hours off cycle. And I want to point out something. You're still in veg stage, especially you're only 2 weeks old. Like these seedlings, you should definitely get that relative humidity up to like 75% or even like 70% and get your temperatures up close to like 83, 84, 85, and you're going to see incredible growth. And the way to do that, to answer Michelle's question, is to hook up a humidifier in your room. Okay, if you have issues with, if you're in an arid climate, buy yourself a humidifier. It'll work wonders.
We use a humidifier sometimes even here in Vancouver. Can you imagine that? With all the rain we get, sometimes, especially in the winter, it gets too dry. We have to bust a little humidifier, which pumps a little mist into your room. You don't want to point the mist directly at your plants and get dew on your plants, okay? You always want to point your humidifier away from your plants. I made that mistake, didn't I? Anyways, all right, here we go. Any more? Actually, you know what? We have another section to tackle. Is there one more you wanted to do before we move on?
No, we're good.
No, we're good? Beauty. I am going to share my screen again. If you lose me, I'll be back in like 2 seconds, okay? I don't know what's up with the portal right now, but it's working, kind of, right? Okay, here we go. Sharing screen. And the Chrome tab right here, going back. Beauty. Okay, working, yes. So now, let's talk moisture during curing. All right, this is a humongous point of obsession of mine as well as Mike's. And basically, if you don't do this right, look, you can grow your plant perfectly, okay? Beautifully. And if you don't do what we're about to talk about right, everything is wasted. Let's do a scientific analysis of this point that I've just mentioned, okay? How much moisture is in a wet plant? About 75% moisture content. When a plant is about 75 moisture content, seeing laboratory readings for total terpene content that are around 5, 7, 8, 9% are not unlikely. Monoterpene is the type of terpene that occurs in highest incidence in the cannabis plant, drug type cannabis, even non-drug type cannabis, which is hemp, okay? So monoterpenes occur, think about this, you've got about 7%, let's say you got 7% in your flower when it's wet, okay? Not a bad amount. So how much is left in that jar is entirely dependent from that point forth on how you cured your flower. You can end up with 1% total terpene content if you didn't cure it right, if you speed cure it. And if you do it the right way, the way I'm about to describe to you, that 7% can retain 2.5, 3% total terpene content at a 12% MC point. We're gonna learn to analyze all of these data points quickly and give you a bit of lingo that you can throw around among your peers, friends and family, okay? Here we go. So remember, plant wet, about 75% amount of water in that plant, okay? When we cure it, we bring down that moisture content through evaporation to about 13.5 to 11.5. Now, some people will ask me, well, Adolfo, you were just talking about water activity. What is 13.5 to 11.5 MC in terms of water activity? Well, that's a good question. Highly geeky one, and probably not very relevant to your world because there's very few of us that will ever stand in front of a device that tests for water activity unless you actually work for a production site. But here's the answer, okay? We like to stop water activity, which of course varies depending on the morphology of the bud, between 0.55 and 0.65 for cannabis specifically. That's where you get to that 10.5 to 13.5 MC range, which makes it mwah. If you can preserve that in your jar and get that to your consumer with that MC content, they're going to applaud you. I guarantee it. So remember that reducing moisture to the ideal point is ideally done in a slow manner with the buds still on the stem.
Yeah, that's just what we do. We do a whole plant hang, a dry trim, and we don't remove the buds from the stem until we've trimmed off the dry leaves that have kind of encased the bud, right, and protected those terpenes from a tremendous oxidization, which they normally would receive.
So again, this is really important because you need to regulate the release of that moisture gradually so that you can retain as much of the monoterpene layer as you can. And remember, above all, trimming wet. So he just described dry hanging, right? You dry hang your plants, you let them get nice and crispy. If you were to trim all of the leaf, the sugar leaf that's right next to that bud, they're gonna the tips of your cut sugar leaves are gonna secrete chlorophyll, and it's gonna cover your bud. Think about a butcher trying to make jerky. If the butcher was to massacre their beef and let the blood totally cover the piece of beef, and then they just jerky that piece of beef, is that gonna be delicious? No. Chlorophyll is the blood of the plant. You're secreting the blood of the plant all over that bud, and then you're curing it, and you're saying to yourself, it's gonna be the best bud in the world. It won't. You've already ruined the process, okay? So dry, cure if you wanna do the best product in the world. Now, is that common for large producers? Do they have the ability to hang their plants, wait a week and a half, if you have 50 rooms coming down all at once? No. So it's not really an error, but because it is an error. I have to walk that back. It is an error because I've helped design protocols for large sites that thought that they could not hang dry and they thought that they could not do things the right way. And oftentimes you can if you really set your mind to it and you run the economics of what your stock is going to be worth based on the terpene content. That's the problem. Most business analysts are not looking at total terpene percentage as a business point to put into their calculations for stock valuation. The moment that changes, they'll say, oh yeah, it makes sense to actually cure the right way because I put all this work and that money into growing it. Now the product can be worth $15 on the gram. God forbid, hopefully it's $10 on the gram maximum. Unlike the outdoor that some people are going to grow with no love and no appropriate genetics, that's going to end up costing $4 on the gram, right? You want to sell your stuff premium, you have to cure it premium. Otherwise, your stock is overvalued. That's why so many companies are going to be losing a lot of money coming up because they've got old, overvalued stock. Remember, ideal temperatures for curing are between 15 to 20 centigrade, 60% to 65% RH. Crops requiring remediation, on the other hand, remediation just means it post-processing treatment to ameliorate a situation where you had pathogens develop, okay? So you're trying to eliminate pathogens? Yes, absolutely. Slow curing is not appropriate. You have PM, you're doing your home grow. Are you gonna slow cure your bud? Oh.
By remediation, are you meaning like E-beam sterilization and gamma sterilization? Is that correct?
But not just look, E-beam is all good, brother. I love E-beam if you run it short for a 30-second period on a small batch at home. Oh yeah, no problemo. It's not going to zap your monoterpene that much. The problem lies with gamma radiation, okay? Gamma radiation and running your E-beam too long, but more than anything, okay? Think about this. If you had either botrytis or PM, so many companies, they will not risk that pathogen proliferating further. Hence, a speed cure is actually what needs to be done, at least to a partial extent, for a crop that requires remediation, okay? Now, here we go. what does that mean for large producers? Well, this is exactly why. It's far easier for a large producer to set high temperatures, low RH for curing protocols instead of low temperatures and higher RH. So again, speed curing would be below a 45% RH. If any of you are like taking notes out there like crazy, don't worry about it because I'm about to share the PDF with all of these slides with you, okay? So don't stress. All of this data will be there for you to review after. But here's the quick, the short and narrow of it, okay? When your RH is below 45 and your temperature is above 28, your terpenes are suffering. They're boiling, just literally boiling off, evaporating into the air. And you end up with an enormous content of sesquiterpene relative to monoterpene, as opposed to what you would have seen if you would have done an appropriate cold cure. So saving your flower, see, this is what I tell producers, is you cannot have a Q&A protocol that's working as if you were always saving your flower. Now, if there's mold in every single one of your rooms, then I get it. But then, I mean, you need to fire your master grower because there's sulfur burners, there's stuff that you can do, right? And that's organic and approved, and it's gonna work. So, so all I'm saying is there's options out there, okay? And there's no way in hell that setting your Q&A parameters, quality assessment parameters, okay, to the worst possible thing you can choose to be safe, always pump your flower, never have anything called back, no recalls, right? Man, I'm sorry, but that's what I call very lazy and cowardly growing and Q&A work, okay? People need to step it up if they want to survive this. Now, we're going to have a short commercial break. And what does that mean, really? Because, I mean, I'm doing a webcast. Oh, shit. There you go. I hope I'm still here. Yeah, you haven't lost me. Beautiful. Okay. So what does this mean? Well, it means that currently CannaReps is the sponsor of this CannaReps show. We have no sponsors. Nobody pays for their slot. Boveda's here because we love them. We wanna allow people to voice their opinions on people that are in the industry, to voice their opinions, to bring us their science. That's what the show is about. But for right now, essentially, and that is, of course, if I can at least get this going. And you know, Sharon, I know that you're back there. Sharon, there's an action that I need to trigger, okay? And I don't know if I'm triggering it right now, but maybe you can get on the same thing, and I'm sure that we can trigger the advertisement that's supposed to roll right now. But I just want to voice this. If you're out there and you want to sponsor this show, you want your brand to roll during this 5-minute slot that we're about to go through, and remember, this is the smoke break. You're more than welcome to just take a little breather. I'm laying so much information on you.
And you need to take a breather.
Let's chillax. Let's relax a little bit, right? So while we relax, hopefully I can have this advertisement play for you. Let's see if I can do it. I did practice, by the way. I did practice all of this. I'm just doing the old man grower thing where technology just seems to be very averse to our kind for some reason. I don't know why. Anyways. Yeah. No, Jed, I know, my friend. You're of my age, so we face the same challenges, my friend. Okay, here we go. There's no advertisement rolling, is there? Here we go. Here we go. A 1, a 2.
I don't see anything yet.
Okay. All right. Okay.
You do have a question in the chat box from Desiree.
I'm definitely trying. Hold on. Where did the chat go? Oh, there we go. Okay. Well, we need to go back to the chat and answer some questions anyways. Okay. Now, let's see. Couldn't agree more on the soul cure. We find 55% RH is the best threshold for maintaining monolayer that locks the terpenes. You know, Jed, I 100% agree with you on that point. 150%. Technology tests us. HDP. Oh yeah, Sammy, I agree. Technology is an ongoing story in my life that one day will make friends. I'm sure. Let's find some awesome questions here.
There's more at the top for sure.
And there was a question here that we missed from the last section as well. We can answer this one real quick here. Do you still remove the larger fans prior to hang? Absolutely. You have to remove all of your sun leaves before you do your hang, okay? Now, doing your hang, again, for those of you that are not exposed to this, I put a picture of it up a second ago, okay? You put a line up in your room with your, look, if you're an LP, you know what I'm talking about, but if you're a home grower, you put a line up in your room and you use one of the stems, one of the diversions from the main stem as a hook for your plant. A lot of us growers believe that the plant hasn't finished, okay? It hasn't finished giving us all that it can. If we hang it upside down, we tend to see a little bit more fattening of the trichome expression. We tend to see that crystal just show more visually, and it makes us happy also that it preserves the nose more. So remember, removing those fan leaves is important because they'll curl up and they'll cover your bud. And if there's a lot of them, that chlorophyll aroma and flavor that's inside that fan leaf will actually become impacted onto your bud, and it'll downgrade the flavor. Yeah.
All right, and there is another question up here.
Finish answering.
Really good one.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Here it is. So, okay, how does the environment, this is asked by Mark here, how does the environment outside of the tent, I'm assuming this is a grow tent you're speaking of, affect the humidity inside? And how can I manipulate it to help the humidity in the inside tent, or inside the tent? Okay, so essentially, yeah, actually the humidity, the environment outside a tent 100% affects the humidity, because you're going to be having to take in air and exhaust air from your tent. If you're doing anything correctly, you need to exhaust out of that tent. If you don't, you're going to end up with obviously 100% humidity, mold issues, heat issues. I mean, even LED lights will create a fair amount of heat inside a tent. If you've ever taken an infrared gun thermometer and shone it at like just any part of an LED light, whether it's the below or even above, you'll notice that it gets pretty hot. So you're going to want to get or use something like, at the very least, something like right here, right? So we've got, you know, carbon filter and a little fan, and this is a grow tent. So we are in a grow tent right now. Okay? So, and we want this grow tent to be relatively comfortable, right? So what you need to do is, if you're having issues, if you're having extreme heat inside your grow tent and you can't control that, you have to set up a separate space outside of your tent where you can set up essentially an AC unit. So either set up an AC unit and exhaust that AC unit out of your tent if you can, or set up a separate space and kind of create a cooler climate in that space, and then intake from that space into your tent, if that makes any sense, right? So like if you've got a separate room, a spare room beside it, or you can even build a little bit with some drywall or something. You can build a little separate space, separation, and then put in an AC unit in there if you don't have space inside your tent for an AC unit, and then draw air in from that space. You know what I'm saying? That'll be another way to cool out your tent.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, brother.
Yeah, for sure.
So I am now prepared to continue with, I figured out what was wrong during that little discussion. Won't happen again. Anyways, here we go. I'm going to share my screen with you once again and continue on with our material, because we've got a little bit more material before I put Jed on to discuss all of the science relevant to how two-way control works. Because that's where we're moving right now, right? We just discussed ideal curing parameters. After we discussed ideal growing parameters around moisture, now we're talking storage, okay? Here we go. And it is there. I know it's wrong. I've got it, people. Here we go. There we go, beautiful. And present. I'm just gonna click right through. Everybody sees this? Yes? Remember, this is the hang dry plants that I just discussed. Remember, okay? Now, this was the commercial that was about to roll. And basically, we can either do a video for our advertisers. We can do a video or a slide like this, and I can talk over it for you. And obviously, all of you know about the Cannabis Sommelier program that we present because you're here with us today. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the program at the end of today's presentation. And remember that Mike here is the man that will lead you by the hand to learn everything to do with no-till living soil method, fully organic method, the cheapest method, the lowest input method, the one that makes you work the least and makes you love the planet the most. He's the man, okay? So here we go. Now we're gonna talk about moisture during post-processing and storage. I know that there's a lot of geeks out there working for companies right now asking themselves the question of what is, so, okay. Many people argue, they say, you know, if bud is ideally cured, you're never gonna need to use two-way control packs, for example. And you know, we run grow sites, and I've helped to run large license sites, and not as a master grower like him, just as a a consultant on the side. But the point is, you never don't need extra help. You never don't need that card that corrects a small mistake that happened in one sector of your site, okay? So absolutely, yes, if bud is perfectly cured, you land within that 11.5 to 13.5 MC range, you're gonna see that your bud will, in a sealed container, mind you, okay? I like to show this one off a lot. This one was given to me by a collaboration between Restash and Boveda, and it's got the collector's cup symbol on it, so that makes me really proud. But this is the important feature, okay? This jar. I love mason jars. This blocks out all the light for you, okay? There's no way that this mason jar messes up for me. I can see the air sealed a boundary of it, that it's got nothing on it, and it really makes me very sure that this is 100% airtight. And moisture content will maintain around a 60 percentile, 55 percentile, yes, sometimes below the 55 percentile, okay? Jed's gonna be talking about that 55 percentile point a lot right now in a moment. And remember that, yes, ideally cold curing is what you have to do, but sometimes even when you do cold curing, you crisp too much. Even when you do things the perfect way, you over crisp. You need to go back and undo what you did. People that are like, oh, I over crisped, that's it, I'm done. No, there's things that you can do. So remember this, there's a lot of content on this slide. Don't worry so much about it. I'm just gonna tell you what it says, okay? Remember, people who run big sites don't face the same challenges that you face at home. A lot of us that are home growers have a lot of critiques towards LPs that I know in a large setting aren't exactly always, do things ideally and do things perfectly every time. Yeah, it's easier said than done, okay? Especially when you have like half of your staff on an enormous learning curve because they don't even come from the sector. A lot of people that are in very powerful places too.
Yeah, like some master growers.
Oh, those are the master growers. Anyways,
Yeah, anyway.
Moisture control packs are absolutely useful, and that's why I decided to bring Boveda over, because like I said, they're not paying for the spot. Nobody that's a guest at this show will ever pay for their spot to discuss the science behind their product, okay? So Jed is here to talk just frankly about how it works, and I'm gonna hand it over to Jed. Jed, please, I'm just gonna stop sharing my screen, okay? Let's see, hopefully worked. Fantastic. Jed, go right ahead, please. I think you're muted, Jed. I can't hear you. What do we have here? Try talking again. Can other people hear? Hopefully other people can hear.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, we can hear now. Yeah, we can hear now.
Right. Like, technology's our friend. Okay, I'm just going to try to share my screen and bring up.
Yeah. Here, we're going to cross your fingers, people. Old man power. Let's do this. Come on. Yeah.
We got it. Can you see that?
It's coming. It's coming. I know it's coming. It takes a little bit of time, right? Is it doing the dot? Is it doing the dot right now?
I have my PowerPoint presentation pulled up, so I don't know why you can't see it. But maybe it just takes a minute or two, like yours did. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for letting me be part of this event and to get to kind of meet some of the grower connections you have and the people out there in the industry who are killing it with the craft side and the legacy side. I think that's really important to kind of connect and make sure people understand. the kind of different technology out there and how important humidity control really is. Still not seeing anything?
I'm still not. Anybody else up there seeing anything? Killing me right now. Come on.
Oh my gosh.
Well, you know, the good thing is, Jed, we've got it all right here. Isn't that nice?
Well, I do have enough. I have enough to say from my fear for sure. Yeah, I'm just getting the ... So we'll just have to roll with that for now.
Look, what I can do for you is also I can share on your behalf from here, and then you can just tell me when to.
Maybe that's the way to go. We don't want to waste people's time, so that might be the way to do it.
Okay, we're gonna tackle a couple of questions. Let me just.
Yeah, maybe you can try to get it working while we answer.
Oh yeah, well, you know, what is causing the hay smell?
So that's the chlorophyll.
So, yeah.
Remember we mentioned about dry trim versus wet trim. So there's a question here that says, "What's causing the hay smell?" It's when you trim a plant wet and you allow that to dry. It creates an intense hay smell, and it's the chlorophyll.
Oh, we've got your screen now.
Perfect. There you go.
But let me make sure and clarify. Is that? Yeah. When you say hay smell, yeah, I agree. It is cutting it wet, and it's also potentially your stuff has gone old and dry. Old and dry. You're gonna get a lot less of that hay smell with appropriate humidity inside your bud. To be frank with you. Okay.
Cool. All right.
So everyone, I'm going to burn through these slides pretty quick to get to some more kind of important information towards the end of my presentation, just because we don't want to hold up your time. I know everyone's busy in our industry, but this will be available as a PDF to you to check over and read through and kind of gather more of the information after the presentation Adolfo will send out. So we're just going to kind of skip down. I just want to say that this research is third-party verified and done through our lab that we have in-house down in USA, Minnesota. So I just want to give you a quick little burn through. If you don't know much about Boveda, we started 26 years ago, I believe it was, humidifying cigars. That was kind of our original intent because the two founders were very big cigar aficionados. And cannabis kind of found us. So it was a kind of a perfect fit for what our product could do to what was needed out there with outdoor growers trying to hold on to their flower for, a longer time. To get a better market price, because of course, in Humboldt County, everyone's harvesting at the same time, same as in BC. And if you could hold on to it to July and maintain the, the quality, then you're going to get a much better price, of course, for your hard work. So that's where it came from. And I'm just going to quickly touch on how we're built and what we do. Everything in our product is food grade. It's craft paper, vegetable-based dyes. Our patent membrane is what is really the secret sauce that allows 2A true humidity control. And it's a saltwater solution. So it's a very simple product at its core, but it does a pretty big job. As I mentioned, it's 2A, so the only thing that can pass through our membrane is purified water vapor. So we see that through our testing, and some people have asked about can terpenes be absorbed or terpenes be lost? And the only thing that can go through our membrane is purified water vapor. And what it does really is, so much more than desiccants or humidifiers, because it actually does it two ways. So if you're in a situation where your cure is a little off perhaps, or humidity is introduced, you can then use Boveda to bring that humidity level down, or you can use Boveda to ensure your humidity level stays exactly where you want it post-cure. We have the 58% over 62%, and we find those to be just the perfect difference between, a little crisper and a little juicier. And, Adolfo talked a lot about water activity and kind of all the different things with, introducing these, botulisms and different things that can grow at certain moisture levels. And that's why it's so important to have some sort of humidity control to make sure that when the product leaves even if it's in your storage or when it leaves to your customers, it has something to ensure that if moisture gets introduced, it won't affect the product. You work too hard growing it to have it turn into something people don't want to smoke or have mold show up at someone's, dispensary or whatever. And free water and bound water, Adolfo went over that as well, but basically that's kind of the difference between moisture content and relative humidity. And we use active water as a better measurement just because it it utilizes both the available water, in the flower, as opposed to moisture content, I believe, and Adolfo, you may want to correct me, measures the water within the stem as well as the available water that can evaporate from the flower. So that's why we've used active water, which is a direct correlation to relative humidity. So when we say 62% humidity, it's 0.62 active water. So it's just a good scale that way, as you can see here. One of the things that we've discovered in our research too, and ASTM standards in the USA has determined that this is the best way to do it, is using a salt-based package, is that we want to keep for consumer safety below 65 active water. That's when you start to see the option for buyout to start growing. And whether that's mold or other things that can infect the plant, or pardon me, the flower, if you keep it below that, absolutely safety threshold. And that's why we recommend a 62 is kind of our biggest recommendation for what we see as being most effective and most quality bud and the best terpene retention. And then on the other side of that, we see below 55% as where the monolayer of moisture has kind of evaporated, and that's now allowing terpenes to evaporate from the trichome. So those are kind of our two bookends of what you want to stay between. 55, 65 are the maximums. And I can't see anyone's chat box for questions, so if somebody's coming up, please let me know. Adolfo, are you there? Oh, good. Okay, just wanted to make sure. I didn't hear any feedback, so I just wanted to make sure I'm still live.
Do you want me to ask you that question?
Yeah, here we go.
Okay.
Ask away.
So it's questions from Jeff. He goes, Jed, I've tried some Boveda, or I am actually, to another question, Boveda, it sounds like is the way you pronounce it, right? Because another,
yes.
How do you pronounce it? So, okay, I've tried some Boveda competitors, not overly impressed. So I'm guessing maybe you're referring to Integra potentially. So their hook is that Boveda is designed specifically for tobacco and not cannabis. Currently, I rely on Sea Vault and Boveda. I came back to the light. Can you comment on that, Jed? So
I can, absolutely. So just to kind of put it out there for everyone, although the technology first came about for the tobacco industry, we changed our entire, tobacco likes to be stored much higher, 69% to 75. So our recipe and everything we do within our membrane and everything is cannabis specific. So it was designed for the cannabis industry. And initially back, 10, 12 years ago when people first started using our product, they were trying to use the tobacco specific ones, but we recognized right away those were not going to work because they're too high humidity. And we designed specific cannabis Bovedas. So great to hear you using Sea Vaults. Great to hear you using Boveda. I can't say enough about Sea Vault. They're a great storage unit. So yeah, we are cannabis specific for sure with the product design, membrane design, packaging design, everything.
right on.
Sorry, another question?
Yeah, I've got a follow-up.
Yeah, please.
So let's just give an example. Like if you, without actually giving away your IP and potentially giving away your competitor's IP too, if you know it, can you just kind of comment a little bit more about how your technology is different than, let's say, one of your primary competitors, such as Integra?
Yeah, I noticed that the bags from Integra are bigger, which really pisses me off because it takes up more room in my bag or the jar. And all this, for me, everything I've heard is just not true. It's not. People are like, it leaves it completely pristine, and Boveda changes the flavor. I'm like, no, it doesn't. Like, cannabis degrades over time, even if you keep the humidity perfect, and that's nothing to do with, I don't know. What do you say about all the?
Well, that's two questions. So let's start with the first one. The primary difference between other options on the market and Boveda is that we are the only salt-based solution. And that's what ASTM standards recognizes as the best way to cure and keep cannabis. The other ones are glycerin-based. So sugar versus salt, for lack of a better, scientific term. And what we've found in our research is that salt water solution packages don't have the capacity to give off the accurate humidity level over a long period of time. And in fact, quite shortly after getting introduced to the packaging or back-end storage, although they can reach the humidity level initially, very quickly, they can't because of the nature of their solution. Whereas a saltwater solution, up until the minute it's completely dried up and all you can feel is a crunchy package, it's giving off exactly the 62% humidity level you want. So it's just a performance difference based on the design.
So you're telling me it's a little bit how it all still is. Nice.
Yes. So that's the primary difference between everything. Oh, our membrane is patented and does work differently, and it's really true way to humidity control, where that hasn't really been proved by other people in the market, from what I understand.
So we had a comment from Michelle here. She says Integra claims to use food grade ink on their packs. I guess she's asking if you do too.
Yeah, our dyes that we use on or ink, I should say, we use on our packages are vegetable based, and it's craft paper.
In your presentation.
Yeah. So it's totally food safe, FDA regulated and recognized. Same with our manufacturing; it's ISO certified. It's we've crossed the T's and dotted the I's. Doing business with Health Canada means you have to have everything absolutely perfect. We've been in final packaging with Worcester Cannabis, was our very first kind of big win in the legal market, and Boveda Radium with the flower. Health Canada is fully aware and has given us our letter of permittance, so there's no issue there at all. But great question to ask, because that's one of the things we all have to know about in this industry, particularly if you're an LP and you have to go through all the QA stuff. But even as a craft grower or a legacy grower, you want to know you're putting quality in with your product, and the whole point of it is to maintain that quality.
Right.
Yeah.
So, from Paul says, "Hi, Jed. I use Boveda and sea vaults for my personal collection." Another one. Okay, but sometimes the packs don't seem to interact well with the bud and seem to kill the aroma. I heard that overly wet flower may not pair well with the BV packs. Is there anything to that? And are there any tips for using the BV packs?
One of the things that is really a challenge for us all to wrap our heads around about terpene retention is that if the monolayer of moisture is intact due to humidity control, the terpenes themselves are trapped within the trichome. So there will be a little less aroma because they're not off-gassing or evaporating, I should say, into the headspace of the packaging or your storage unit. Because when you want to smell those terpenes, really at the end of the day, is you want to have them intact when the consumer gets it, or you get it yourself, to grind and to roll and to smoke and enjoy and have that entourage effect of everything kind of coming together. So you may encounter certain strains different than others that there may be slightly less aroma in your package, in your bud, in your tote, whatever you're storing in, or your sea vault even. But the benefit of that is that you're going to smell that much more. That terpene retention's been locked inside the trichome when you grind it up and you smoke it. So that's kind of the answer to that question. I hope that puts your mind at ease of maybe why you've experienced that.
Everyone, I just wanted to say that CannaReps really agrees fully with the science behind that. It's been researched, it's been published, and 55% is absolutely the place where you're going to have, you're above 55, you're safe, and the degradation of your head will be slow. Okay?
Yes.
Other questions we've got. Dom, hello, Jed. Do you have to air out jars? Oh, Lord. Do you have to air out jars when the Boveda packs are in the jar?
Do you have to, or can you? Do you have to?
The question is, do you have to air out the jars when the Boveda packs are in the jar? And I would say no, you don't have to, right?
No, there's nothing you need to do there. As long as you've cured your flower, now you're in storing mode, and you have the Boveda packs in there, and that's going to just maintain everything absolutely perfect. Equalize it if the cure is off a teeny bit, or if there's any evaporation happening from the jars. Because glass is pretty impervious, but the seal of the actual mason jar lid, yes, when we can jam, it's a perfect seal because it's been heated and pressured and sucked down onto it. But when you just hand tighten it, there's still a little bit of evaporation that happens. So that's really why you want to have a humidity control pack in there, to make sure that all your hard work to a perfect cure doesn't disappear weeks, months down the road because there's a little bit of evaporation happening all the time.
We've got a question here from Karina. are all Boveda bags made equal? I have one that says 65% and another that says 62%. The difference. That's a good one.
Yes, no, there's very specific ones we recommend for cannabis, 62% and 58. We have other ones, the higher RHs are typically used for the tobacco market. We have lower relative humidity that we use for the guitar market. We're kind of diverse, we do a few different things. And yeah, 62, 58, those are the absolute ideal ones. 65 to me is just too close to that threshold where you might have buyout problems. So I would say stick to the 62.
Yeah, because remember that you are going to burp a jar if you're at 65 still, okay? If you've got bud and you're curing it at home, you are going to open up that jar and air it out, okay? Jed, you can keep going with your presentation because we're running out of time, but yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to just quickly talk about how terpenes evaporate. So what we found is when the monolayer moisture, if your humidity is too low, the monolayer moisture has gone off the trichome, and then the oxygen actually causes the evaporation. So if you can keep that trichome covered in the monolayer of moisture, which is done with humidity control, then you can lock those terpenes in and totally slow down the rate at which they evaporate and keep that quality right to your consumer. So this is kind of just reiterating what we already talked about there. Maybe it'd be better just to kind of the last few minutes fire some questions. If anyone has anything else they wanted to ask or any other questions about the product, I would love to hear them.
Well, let's give it questions and then we're gonna cut to the giveaway. By the way, Jed, what are you giving away today?
Well, it's going to be a mix of Boveda products, some sea vaults, a couple of rad hats, and a t-shirt, and whatever I can put together for a really fun pack for someone to get. And whoever your winner is, we'll ship it out to them and make sure they have some fun swag as well as some good product to use, and a variety of our sizes from the largest packs we make that treat 5 pounds to the smallest ones that are good for your personal little stash jar or even putting in with your pre-rolls. So yeah, a little bit of everything.
Gorgeous. Very nice.
You may have just answered a question there, Jed. There's a question here that says, are you developing any smaller Boveda packs that can be packed with pre-rolls?
We do. We have 2 different small, what we call the 1 gram size, and don't be confused by that. 1 gram means they weigh 1 gram, so they're easy to tear out if you're filling bags or you're filling packs. And we have a slim size one that's kind of about the shape and size of your thumb that will work right in a dube tube or a 3-pack or anything like that. And it does the same job as the other side of a shape, but it's just a smaller size. So we have everything that will treat from, the 1 grams we have are rated to treat up to 3.5 grams of flour. So we have a multi-packaged joints, perfect. If you have an 1/8, perfect. And then we have the 4 gram, which treats up to ½ an ounce. We have the 8 gram that does up to 1 ounce, 67 gram that does up to 1 pound. If you're doing large jars, that's probably, the right size, or small turkey bags. And then we have a 320 gram that treats up to 5 pounds. So if you're doing totes, or you have like the really big, ostrich bags or whatever everyone's using these days, the 5 pound sea vaults, we've got something kind of custom made for virtually every size you need.
Yeah, I think that for pre-rolls, it's really essential that manufacturers put it in there because they get so dry. Henry wants to talk a little bit about preserving terpenes and extracts or concentrates, and I can speak to that a bit. Jed, are your packs ever utilized in that context? Not so much, right?
Extracts don't really have much of a moisture content, so I don't really know a lot about that.
There you go. So preservation for extracts is about airtightness. Numero uno. Look, if you've got your rosin and it's brown and it's got this like green brownish coloration, it's oxidized rosin press. Okay, that needs to be in a container that is airtight, not exposed to the light. So all of these like transparent gray market containers that like let the light through. Oh yeah, Jed, please stop sharing your screen for us, okay? Because I'm gonna put up a quick advert and then close the session giveaway. In fact, we're kind of counting down the time here. So I'm gonna just tell you very briefly, again, oh, that's not screen sharing. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna remind all of you, okay, that CannaReps really, really wants everyone in the industry to go out there and get as educated as you can if you're going to practice in this field. And we feel that our curriculum is far and above essentially anything that's out there in terms of product expertise training. We stay attenuated to what is, let's say, academic consensus, scientific consensus. We don't like to create new theories and present them to you as a completely researched item. We tell you the truth, and we let you walk away with real skills that you can apply in the real world. Now, there's a second product which we're selling right now, Living Soil at Home. That's Mike. Tell us, 20 seconds, Mike. What do you think about why people should take this course?
I mean, you want to talk about saving the terps. You have to create the terps first in order to save them. And I can't think of a better way to do it than like a regenerative style, right? Where you're incorporating all the different types of life that you possibly can. And by doing that, you allow the plant to choose its own destiny, and you allow the plant to essentially express its genetic potential the way it wants to, right? And that is the truest, most, I'm not gonna say truest, and that's, but it's basically the best opportunity, right? To truly get that rock star, that BC rock star that we were smoking, or, you know, the Baba Kush, or, you know, you'll be able to taste those subtle differences between the phenotypes, right? So it's very, 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 very useful.
Everyone, you can go to our webpage and enlist yourself in any of these courses right now. And we're going to close the session with the giveaway. So Sharon, oh, Sharon, she's so wise. She can see into your soul. She knows what you're thinking. And Sharon is going to tell us right now who the winner is. Now, if you do not respond into the chat box, you do not win. You have to be present to win this gift. So please, Sharon, let us know the name of winner numero uno. Trying. Jeff? Oh my God, Jeff, are you still here? I know Jeff is here. Jeff would not bail on this. Yes!
Which Jeff?
Oh, which Jeff? Wait, Jeff E. Jeff E. Are both of you Jeff E's?
Oh, Jeff E.
Which is the Jeff E? Jeff E.
Not this one, Derek. Is Jeff E here? First of all, wait,
hold on. Has Jeff E stood up and raised their hands? And
we're all Jeff E.
Yeah, I'm doing a meeting at the same time. He is here. He is here. No, that counts though, Jeff. That counts, Jeff. You just won. You just took it.
Jeff Ewer.
You just took the Boveda pack, Jeff. Congratulations. Felicidades, Jeff.
That was confusing for a moment, but I think we're good.
Yeah, I'm glad that we got through that. I want to thank Jed from Boveda for joining us today. Mike is always going to be here. He's my hermano. We run this thing together with Julie, too. Don't forget about her. She comes back. And Sharon is in the background making it all tick. Thank you all for coming so much. We're going to see you next month. Remember, the first Wednesday of every month at noon PST. If you want to become a sponsor for this show, write us at info@CannaReps.ca. Those spots are selling cheap. You know that spot during the smoke break? It's selling cheap right now because we just launched and we had 600 signups for today. So that's a lot of people that know and care about this show. Thank you all who took the time to come. Abrazos, saludos. Hasta luego, everybody. Okay. Bye-bye. Let's see if we can actually close the